It's still so hard for parents of autistic children to get the support that they need, even in a world where we're supposed to be inclusive of everyone. Today, I am chatting with Crystal Jordan. She is an amazing autism advocate. She is an author of her book called Just Like You, and she is also founder of Zachariah's World, which is named after her son. Crystal has taken her journey with autism, her son's journey with autism, and raising a child with autism, and turned it into a mission to empower families and fight for inclusion and get the help that parents need to kind of navigate the system. Those of you that listen to the podcast regularly will know that this is something that I am currently going through, so this is kind of very close to my heart. So yeah, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show, Crystal. Thank you for coming on. Can you tell us a little bit about Zachariah and your journey to kind of getting a diagnosis with him? Were there any early signs that you noticed when he was a baby? I understand he's nonverbal, isn't he? Were there any other signs that kind of stuck out to you as a parent when he was little?
So for me personally, at the point when he was diagnosed, before he was diagnosed with autism, I didn't know what autism was. I was the typical parent that was unaware. I'd heard the word autism before, but I never knew what autism was. So I didn't know the signs. I didn't know the symptoms. I didn't know anything. So for me, he was diagnosed at 2, but before he was 2, his doctor told me at 8 months that she think that Zach was autistic. And his doctor was not a qualified doctor to tell me. She's a pediatrician, but she knew from experience. And then my best friend also told me, and then my son's godmom said, hey, I think he may be autistic. This is when he was 8 months, but I waited until he was 2. That's when I started to see he was nonverbal. That was my biggest indication that something was wrong. And when he was 2, I went back to the doctor. And when I went to the doctor, I did a walk-in. She normally don't take walk-ins. And she said, I knew you was ready because I don't take walk-ins. We did the referral. She referred me to Market Center, which is the best in the East Coast. And that's where we got the diagnosis in October of 2019. And he was 2.
Yeah. I think it obviously, with the nonverbal, my son is verbal, but he's had other sort of signs that we picked up on quite early, I would say. It's same as you. We had other professionals. When he was younger, he was hitting some of his milestones. He was hitting perfectly, but his speech and language was delayed to a lot of where he should have been on the level. And we, like you, me and my husband, we were, aware of autism, but I personally don't know anyone that's got autism, so it wasn't anything that I had kind of looked at. I just kind of thought, well, maybe he's just, he'll catch up eventually. And by the time he got to sort of 3 years old, his speech was he was saying words, but he wasn't sort of putting them together into sort of proper sentences. Sometimes it would be still very garbled, and we took him to kindergarten, and these little 3-year-old girls especially were coming out and having full-blown conversations with their parents, and my son is still just sort of saying the odd word, and I'm thinking, okay, maybe there is something. So speech and language referred originally to the autism team that we have here, and I think he was about 18 months when they referred him first of all, and then his kindergarten started picking up on things that he was doing at kindergarten. He was, I think, partially because his language wasn't quite there, so he started getting quite, not aggressive, but he would sort of physically do things to other children, and they did say it wasn't done in an aggressive way, but because he didn't know how to say to them, I don't want you to play, or I don't want to play with you, or I want to play with that toy, rather than, asking for it, he would just go up and snatch it. Or if he wanted them to move out the way, rather than saying, can you move? He would just push them out the way, So his kindergarten referred him as well. That was when he was 2.5, I think. He's 5 in April, and we are just getting up to the point. We still haven't got a diagnosis because there is such a long wait list in the UK to get a diagnosis. And we are hopefully right at the end of it now. We've been told that they're having their, I think they call it a multidisciplinary panel meeting in the UK, which is a team of various sort of specialists that will meet. So it's
How long have you been on the waiting
pediatricians.
list in the UK?
Oh my gosh, since he was about 18 months. Yeah. So 4.5 years, so 4 years. It's been an ongoing process for about 4 years now. And they've told us
4
that,
years you go on the waiting list to get evaluated?
yeah, yeah,
And I
yeah,
thought 6 months was too long.
yeah, no, it's ridiculously
Oh my
bad
God.
over here. Awful over here, actually. But we've been told we should have a diagnosis or, an outcome by the end of February. That's what we've been told now. So we're hoping
I
that's
hate
where we're
that for the
going with it.
UK.
Yeah.
I hate that for the UK. That's terrible. 4 years?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I think it might be maybe different in different areas of the UK, depending on the council that what we have in the UK, I suppose, is like your government, like different sort of local governments that run it and how much funding they've got to put into it and things like that. So, like cities, for example, may have more funding, so they may get quicker. And obviously, if you go down the private route, that's an option as well, but that's not an option for a lot of people to have a private sort of diagnosis. So yeah, just going in our area, we've been waiting 4 years now for a diagnosis, and it's ridiculous. So
Yeah, that's I'm astonished. Like, I have no words.
yeah,
I
and it
thought
just
I waited too long. And hearing 4 years makes me like, oh, well, that was like a week compared to what I waited.
yeah,
And I complained, and then I got pushed up. And then that's I I think I only waited 6 months, I swear. And I thought that was a long process. I said, why is it so long? And I
yeah,
was complaining. That's crazy.
yeah,
You
it's
just gave me a
insane.
new perspective
Yeah, and
because that
it leaves you in this kind of, for me anyway, I feel like it left me in kind of like a halfway kind of house as a parent, because what I found difficult about it is obviously my overall parenting of Jacob, my feelings towards Jacob are not going to change. Then, the diagnosis makes no difference to me. But what it does do at the moment is, because we haven't got a firm diagnosis, when he does things that are maybe not typical behaviours for his age group, because we haven't got that yes he is autistic or no he's not autistic, I've always struggled
you
with
can't.
how do I parent that, because do I treat him as if he's got autism, but if he doesn't turn out to have autism, I've essentially like enabled that bad behavior.
So you're stuck in between. So I have a
Exactly.
question for
Yeah.
you. Do your kid have an IEP yet, or they don't have an IEP? Do y'all even have that in the UK?
No. So we've got, what we have in the UK is we have the IEP or ILP, I think they call it over here, like an individual learning plan, which can be done by the school. So Jake has got an ILP at school, as far as I'm
Okay,
aware, anyway.
that's good.
But it is basically just a document that the school have put together, to say he may need certain additional features of certain things. I've not seen it, so I'm not entirely sure of what is included on it. I don't know anything really about the ILP that he's got. But then we've also got what they call an
Wait, you're not including his ILP?
I've not
You're
seen
part of
it,
his
no.
support?
No, no. As far as I'm
That's
aware, it was just
concerning.
something that the school did. Yeah, I've not
But you
seen it.
should be, as the parent, you should be involved in that. I'm assuming. Let me do some research right quick before
Yeah.
I say something, because let me see, make sure I'm right. Or before I even go this deep, let me do some fact checks, because I have questions for you.
Yeah, and then I think the other thing we have as well is something called an EHCP, which I don't know if they have in
You said a
America.
what? Say that again.
CP. So it's an education.
E8.
Yeah, so education, health and care plan. EHCP, and then that document is something that we are involved in. So that may be the difference, maybe.
It is no different. It is
Is that the
okay.
same
So
in
I just did my
America?
research. It is no different. It's just the difference is we call it IEP here in America, and you should 100% be involved. You should know what the ILP says. You should have meetings. So it's just like an IEP. So I highly recommend you, as the mom, Miss Lucy, contacting your son's school and
Okay.
getting a copy of your ILP, and you're scheduling a meeting with them to go over what he's learning, his SMART goals, and stuff of that nature. That's why I said, before I even say too much, let me look it up. Yes, it's just like IEP.
Okay.
So
Right.
you not knowing what's in the IEP, the ILP, that concerns me, because it's actually a lot of parents like you who don't know what's in the IEP, or for your country, ILP, and you
Yeah.
should be 100% involved with what it says. You should write it all. You should be able to sign on it and know your parent rights. I don't know your parent rights because I'm in America and you in the UK. So that's something you have to research on that part. But you should 100% know what's in your kid's education plan.
Right.
So
Okay.
I recommend, once you get off this call, to email
Cool.
your son's school and have a meeting, and y'all go over the ILP and see how you can be part of his team. Because essentially you are a part of his team.
Yeah.
Kids are only in school educational time 12%. You got to think about it. Like, it's 180 for America. It's
Yeah.
180 days they are in school. So most of the time, 365 days out the year, they're with us all the time. So we have to know the strategies and what works for them in school and at home. I've been seeing my son be more independent lately, and that has been a beautiful thing to see and hear. So I want that for your kid too, but you have to know what's in that ILP, because you
Okay.
have to be involved in the IEP.
Okay. I will
I know you didn't expect this
contact them.
conversation to go this way.
Yeah. This is unfortunately as well one of the things that I think obviously is, like we brought it up now. So this is one of the problems that a lot of parents have, is that you get this referral done and then that's it. You're kind of left out of the dark you're left in the dark with everything, unless you go off and do your own individual research, which obviously a lot of us do anyway. But we shouldn't have to do that individual research. There should be some point person, once that initial referral is made, that kind of talks you through all of this stuff and says to you, look, your child is going to have an ILP put in place or an IEP put in place. You will need to be involved in this. This is what we're going to do. This will be the next step that we go to. This will be the next step that
I
we go
think that
to.
is
And there
great
just
in the
isn't.
perfect world, but it's unrealistic.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you why it's unrealistic. I'm gonna be very honest. In a perfect world, that sounds amazing, but that's unrealistic. First off, teachers don't get paid enough.
Yeah.
It's a lot of teachers leaving the profession, and it's up to the parent. That's your kid to know. Okay, my child was diagnosed with this. It's my turn to take time to learn what a ILP is, a IEP is, 504 plan, a EHCP is, and
Yeah.
learn my right. What can I do to better my child educational experience? What delays do my child have that I need to work on to create SMART goals? So I feel like that falls back on the parent. Now, I'm not perfect. I was the parent in the beginning who did not know what IEP was, who went into the meeting. I had support. That's the difference with me. I had support. My son ABA company was there with me, but I was scared. I didn't know what that document was. I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
But I did good because I had support. But beyond that, I didn't know anything. I had to research this on my own.
Yeah.
And I became an IEP advocate by accident, an autism advocate by people kept asking me to do interviews, and they was calling me that. So this path was chosen for me. But when it goes back to what you said, that's unrealistic goals and unrealistic expectations, because you have to look at the pay of the teachers. You have to look at that's an amazing idea, but it's up to the individual schools as well. Like,
Yeah.
my son's school is amazing, but that's not the case for everybody. That's not the story of everybody. And I also know how to write and run an IEP meeting. But that, again, is not the case for everybody. So I recommend anybody listening and you to research your laws, to research how to make your kid experience better, and make sure you understand SMART goals. S is for specific, M is for measurable, A is for attainable, R is for relevant, and T is for time. So a SMART goal is a strategy used to write a goal. So when you have an IEP or ILP, the goal should not be opinion based. The goal should be a SMART goal. And it's the difference. It need to be specific, measurable. What's the percentage?
Yeah.
What's the baseline? What's the data? Or is it relevant to where he needs to be? So T, where's the time? That's an opinion based goal. It didn't have all of the components of a SMART goal. And then that really came into play by two lawyers who are advocates. I recommend their books. It's called The Right Law, but I'm not sure if their books will be good for you because you're UK. But they are lawyers who advocate because they're kids with special needs. So that's where I learned my information from. I learned from lawyers. But I highly recommend you looking up your rights for an ILP and really putting in on that, because it's important that we know what goes in our kids' life. Like my son's nonverbal, so I require a home to school communication. So pretty much that is a document that comes home that the teacher created and I approve. And I'm the parent that if I don't like your document, I'm purposely gonna create you a new one to say I'm helping you, but I'm really helping myself. I do it every teacher every year. If it's a document, if I don't like it, I'm going to recreate it and I'm going to send it to you. You're going to be like, you're so helpful, Miss Jordan. Surely am, because I need certain things. But that's how I know how his day is. Because my son, I can't ask him how was school today. I can't ask those questions. And sometimes I call with a teacher and I ask questions. So yeah.
Yeah. It was my husband's, I think, it was someone my husband works with, and their son or daughter, they're grown up now, but when they were going through it, they've got autism as well. And the parent that works with my husband, she said when he told her what we were going through, and he said, have you got any advice for Lucy? Because obviously I'm the one that's sort of dealing with it all, because I'm the one that's sort of the primary kind of carer because he's at work so often. And she said, if there's any piece of advice, she said it would be, she's got to turn into a mama bear. She can't sit back and, just let it go and just trust that the people out there are doing the best thing for Jacob. She said she's got to do it for him. She's got to be that mama bear. If that involves her having to ring the school every 10 minutes to find out what's going on and get this, this information for this report, or ring the autism line. Yeah, she said she's got to keep doing it. If that involves her sitting on the phone for 9 hours trying to get through to a certain team, it's got to be done. She said, because unfortunately, she said there's no one else that's going to do it.
You have to be aggressive. And the way I come off aggressive is different. I come off aggressive as educated.
Yeah.
So
knowing what you know.
Knowing what I know, and how I get so much done is by me being an advocate. But I advocate for other families too. So when I'm talking to you, in the beginning, I talk as a parent, but I don't do it no more. I saw where that got me. Let me be honest. This year alone, I noticed Advocate Crystal gets way more done versus Mom Crystal. Mom Crystal gets stuff done too. But the advocate side of this amazing person gets everything I want. So even for the clients I help, I get whatever they call me and they need, I get it. I agree with your friend, your husband coworker, because that is true. But for me, it's a little bit more different. I learned ethic laws. Like right now, my son, I'm not gonna say which field. It's a certain field that I'm trying to. I'm gonna say it. I'm pro ABA, and maybe somebody listening who is not pro ABA. And when I say I'm pro ABA, I want to make it very known and clear. Everybody's experience is different. My son's experience is not a bad experience because I'm not trying to make him neurotypical, which is society standard or normal. My goal is to redirect certain behavior so he can navigate in society as he get older and become independent. So right now I'm working with this current ABA company, terrible company, the worst company I've ever seen. And let me tell you why I'm getting so much done with them, because I talk to them as I work for them. I said, listen, here go the ethic code. This is the one you violated. This is the one I'm not going to tolerate. This is what I need. Here they go. I'm so sorry you feel this way. I don't feel this is a valid complaint. And I go in, that's just an example. I go in like that, and I come in knowing so much. You have nothing to do but respect me as a advocate.
Yeah.
Now, like I said, when I come in as a mom, I realize the difference. I can't make this up. I wish I could. And I feel so torn for other parents, because everybody's not going to be like me. Everybody's not going to be an advocate. Everybody's not going to take time to learn this information and to imagine that I get treated differently because I call myself an advocate, but I really am an advocate. You can look it up. You can Google me. You'll see it. It is just astonishing to see how different I get treated. Even in my son's school system, it's a certain service I needed him to have, and I've been fighting for it for 2 years as a parent. So finally, this year, I was advocate, and I got it done. They gave me a loophole. Now, they thought they appeased me, but my question to the school was, and they looked at me when I said it, what about the parents who are not advocates? And you said you never heard of this loophole because it don't exist. What about them? And my son, lead teacher, looked at me and said nothing. She just looked at me. She said, yeah, I never heard of it, because I called her boss and I talked to her boss, and I got what I needed. And she was like, I've been in education for over 10 years, because I know, and you know, this is not a loophole. This is something y'all came up with to appease me.
Yeah.
And I said to her, and the principal was walking out when I said it, and I love the principal. The principal was not a part of this, because this wasn't her decision. I had to go over the school. It shocks me. And my son's in an autistic class unit, and it's other kids in his class that need that same service, but they're not getting it because of technicalities that the parents need to do. And I'm like, I think that's sad. And I don't know if the lead teacher ever told the parents the loophole the school system gave me, because of course HIPAA, and of course they can't tell me that type of stuff unless the parent hired me as an advocate. That's the only way I could know. I can't ask I don't want to ask the parents, and then I create a whole problem in the school, which you need to email the school, now y'all here meeting with them. But yeah, being an advocate, my odds are different. I'm not the typical parent.
What you've got to do, listening to what you were just saying there, I think being the advocate and being the parent is to try, because it's so difficult when you're a parent, when you're going into these like meetings or, talking to the school, you automatically go in with that parent kind of connection and emotion because they're your child. And I think what we've maybe got to start doing is taking the emotion and the connection out and going in as if we were a third party going in, like you said. So you go in a little bit more, this is what I need, this is what he needs, or, this is what she needs. Not, we need this because, I've seen him at home and all of this sort of stuff, and going in very softly. You've got to take that connection, get that emotion out, and forget about it, and go in as if you are not the parent. That's kind of what I was saying. Yeah.
Yep. And when you go into these situations, I call my son my client. My mom swears. My mom swears I'm crazy. She's like, your client, that's your son. But
I get it.
I got so much done this year alone when I changed my mindset from son to client. The amount of things I got done within the school system this year is amazing. And like I said, the moment I looked at my son as my number one client, things have changed. And I'm so happy he getting all the services he needs, because that was a struggle.
Yeah.
And I do recommend going into any situation with take your emotions out. Of course, that's hard because that's your kid, but look at the data, look at the facts, and be like, this is what my kid needs. This is why. These are the strategies I think work. Why did this strategy work? This strategy work because he's a sensory seeker, and I need this implemented within his therapy or within his class, whatever it takes. If your child is nonverbal, Like, prime example, I went to a Special Olympics yesterday, and it was these high school kids that was nonverbal. They were trying to communicate with me. I immediately went to the teacher, and I said to them, "Hey, this young lady is yours, right? This guy is your student, right? Where are the AAC device? What's AAC
Yeah.
device? The AAC device is a communication device." And I said, "Why do they not have that?" We left it in school, and I said to the teacher, "How would you feel if your voice was left? How would you communicate? How can they communicate? Yes, you probably know what they want, but they're trying to communicate to me and they can't communicate. That's a problem. Why don't you not have on anything for words for these kids?" And that's how I advocate for everybody,
Yeah.
including my child. My child is my first client.
Yeah. Do you think it's purely just a lack of funding issue as to why so many parents are kind of getting the door slammed in their faces when they're requesting things that they know their kid needs? Is it purely just down to schools and authorities not having funding put in place? Or do you think there's anything else that's kind of creating that barrier of children not being able to have things like AAC devices and stuff that they need to learn and live productive lives?
I think that's an amazing question. I think it does come down to funding in all over the world when it comes to this topic. I do think it also come down to insurance. Um, through your insurance, you can get certain things like an AAC device. You can, it depends on your insurance, by the way. I just want a disclaimer. You can get pull-ups. There's a lot of resources out there you can get. I think it's also lack of education for parents. When you have your baby, in the perfect world, it'll be amazing if it was a booklet given
Hmm.
to parents about different things, just in case we ever ran into it. Oh
Yeah.
yes, we need that service in the perfect world, but I know that's not a thing because it's just not a perfect world. We live in a world full of hate. We live in a world where people don't like people with special needs for no reason, or neurodiverse people because they think they're better than neurodiverse people. We live in a world where people are just so judgmental of another human being and they have no
Yeah.
compassion or empathy. So I feel that it's funding, but it's also insurance companies. I'm in not Atlanta, but in United States, we have something called Katie Beckett. So it don't matter how much money you make. Katie Beckett is another solution for people and parents in America. It don't matter how much you make. That's something that can help us in America. I can't really talk on UK, but I can really talk on the United States because that's where I'm from and it's where I was raised. I learned, like I said, when my son was diagnosed, I started doing so much research. I'm literally a nerd. So I just wanted to know what autism was. That's why, for me, my son is 7. I've been writing since he was 3. I have over 20, I think I have about 20 or a little over 20 books. I have over 10 books about autism awareness and acceptance and inclusion. Inclusion and acceptance are my top thing now. When I first started this journey, I was all about awareness. I'm past that word. I'm so past awareness, it's not even funny. I'm more of acceptance and inclusion and creating spaces for my son when he gets older that he feels accepted. Jobs that will hire him if he's still nonverbal.
Yeah.
Those are my focuses now. Awareness is so past the window. He's 7. Awareness is not my mission anymore. I bring awareness by talking about it. But my goal is acceptance and inclusion because I need jobs, corporations to hire autistic people, neurodiverse people, because they're just like us. And 10 out of 10, I'm probably autistic myself, but I haven't got tested yet
Yeah.
because it's super expensive as an adult. But I need companies too. If a company finds this podcast, I need them to understand how important it is to hire neurodiverse people and especially non-speaking autistic people and all autistic people.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, like you say, they sort of tend to not hire them because they do see it as I know that in a way it is a disability, but that word itself puts an automatic stop on people. I know that they have the disability
But
inclusion,
that's against the law though.
but the word disability means that they're not able to do something. Okay, fine. They may not be able to do this, but they are able to do an awful lot of other things that neurotypical people can't do. and just because I just don't like the word disability, to be honest. I think it sort of wipes out a lot of the abilities. Like, I call it his superpower, because to me, he can do a lot of things that I can't. And that's only going to progress as he gets older.
I love
I,
that.
yeah, I say it's his superpower. I don't like the fact that he's potentially going to be labelled as having this kind of disability, because I don't see it as a disability, and I don't want him to ever feel like he's seen as having a disability either. I want him to feel as he should be, empowered by it, really, in a way. I want him to see it as a positive thing. Okay, I can't do this, but I can do this. I can do that. And I think that is probably a way that we should be looking at it, rather than they can't do something else.
So I agree with you to a certain extent. I know Bible listen to this. Oh, I I personally have nothing against the word, because it also depends on your manager.
Yeah.
If you're at so that manager have to hone in. If you're asking about autistic, you have to figure out what they're good at. But that takes good leadership. Keyword, good leadership. Every company is not going to be a good company for someone who's autistic or neurodiverse. I have nothing against the word, because it gives the company an idea, okay, this right here, this person can't do this. So let me find a different way they can achieve the same goal without doing this. So I told you my brain is different. I look at things as an advocate. So I like the word because I'm advocating for people with disabilities, because in retrospect, my son is classified, autism is classified as a disability. So not on applications, it's not going to say superpower, it's going to say
Yeah.
disability, because in America, we have a disability act. It's against the law not to hire somebody because they have a disability. And then you have certain, and this one I do not like. You have companies that have quotes to meet, to hire people with disabilities, for they
Yeah.
can get maybe funding or other things of that nature. But I personally don't have anything wrong with the word, because it depends on the company. And if my son applies for a company and they don't hire him because he have a disability, guess what? That's their loss, and he will get the company that is meant for him to work for.
I agree. What do you think is like one thing, or multiple things if you can think of them, that in a perfect world that you wish that schools or communities, like saying with jobs and things like that, would just kind of get right when it comes to inclusion? What would be that one thing that, in a perfect world, what is there that they could
In a
do
perfect world.
in a perfect world?
Okay. In a perfect world, I would love all businesses to have sensory days for autistic people. In a perfect world, I would like for grocery stores to open maybe an hour earlier for people that have disabilities that don't want to be judged. In a
Yeah.
perfect world, I wish special needs teachers was paid a lot more than a general ed teacher, because they go through more. In a perfect world, I wish we had autistic schools that are not private schools, but they're treated like private schools, and our kids get a better education. In a
Yeah.
perfect world, I wish that people understood people that have, as you call, superpowers. I'm gonna say disabilities are just like you. It's just they're wired differently, and they are just as dope as you, if not even doper. In a perfect world, I wish we didn't have to advocate so hard for our special needs babies.
Yeah.
That's in the perfect world.
Yeah. What would you say to parents that are like me, going through the process at the moment, that maybe feel like they're getting the door slammed in their faces wherever they go? They get to one team and then they get told, oh, it's going to be 6 months, or it's going to be a year before you can get to the next stage, or to prevent that delay, or
Okay.
they just feel like they're not getting any answers from anyone. Is there anything that you would say to them that they can do?
Okay, so one thing I would say to a parent going through what you're going through is patience is going to be your best friend. But also, I will be calling every resource in my country or my state to see how long was your waiting list, how long was your waiting list. I'll be calling my pediatrician to see they have any more referrals to give me for other parts of that's maybe an hour away to get everything I need, or 2 hours away. Because 4 years to wait for a diagnosis of autism is the craziest thing I've heard so far
Yeah.
in my journey of being an advocate. So I personally will be calling every office, and I did do that because I personally didn't want to wait longer than 6 months. And I'll be calling, and I'll even be calling the wait list I'm on. Hey, where am I located on this list? How long do I need? And I'll also be looking up other resources in my state or my country to see in the meantime, what can I work on? How can I get speech? How can I get OT? How can I do play therapy, music therapy? These are 2 unconventional therapies that is a way to hone in on that. And I will really just be doing my research and be, okay, I need to call them today. And it's like what your friend said, be on the phone 9 hours. I'll be on the phone 9 hours to make sure my child got everything that they need to be great and survive. You got to think about it. In the future, we're not going to be here forever. So we have to set our kids up so when we die, I know that sounds crazy, but it's true. When we die, we need our
That they
kids
can
to be
cope.
successful
Yeah. That they can cope without us. Yeah.
and be independent. And when you have an atypical child, you have to look at a lot differently versus somebody who have a neurotypical child. It's a big difference. And I'm not playing on somebody have a neurotypical child. I'm saying atypical child depends on us more than your neurotypical child.
Okay. What's the first thing that a parent should do if they feel like their child isn't getting the support that they need at school? Like, do they go straight to the school and say, if the school maybe haven't mentioned about having an ILP or things like that, is that their first point of call that they need to go and discuss that with the school, or is there something else that they should do first?
So the moment you feel that your kid needs are not getting met at school, you immediately talk to that teacher and you schedule a meeting. Now in America, you can amend your IEP whenever you want to. So in America,
Okay.
you will say, I want to amend my IEP, and they have to do that because that's your right. Now, the ILP, I'm going to do some research. I'm going to answer this question. I got the answer. So I can fully answer my question now. So in the moment you feel like your kid's not, this is for America and UK. The moment you
Okay.
feel that your kid's needs are not being met, you amend it. It's your parent right. For you in particularly, it's your parent right too. So what you would do, you'll talk to the teacher and be like, hey, I want to have a meeting with you about my ILP. For me, my IEP. So once you have your meeting, y'all go over what you need to go over. You go over the ILP or IEP. And for anybody listening to IEP, it's an individual educational plan. And the ILP is a individual learning plan. So they're very similar. It's just one is UK, one is America. So I just want to make sure nobody's getting lost in translation as I'm going back and forth between 2 different evaluate. Oh, yeah, I know what I'm trying to say. Evaluations. Sorry.
Evaluation. Yeah.
So yeah. So I will contact the school, and then once you have your meeting and it don't go right, you contact the school board of that county and you ask to speak to whoever is over special education, and you go from there. That's normally how I do it. I talk to the teacher first, and after I talk to the teacher, I will go to this is my chain of command personally. Teacher, principal, those 2 things don't work for me. I get the school board involved. But me personally, that's me as a parent. Now, if it's a client, I go straight to the school board.
Okay.
I email the teacher, and based on that, I go to the school board, and that's how I get the results that I get. But I don't talk to the principal for clients. But for me personally, as a mom, teacher, principal, or assistant principal, then school board.
Okay. And we've sort of mentioned about going into these meetings, either for the big meetings that we need to go through, or just a teacher meeting or a head teacher meeting. We've kind of touched on it by trying to come out of that parent mindset and go into more of an advocate mindset and take the emotion out of it. Is there any other things that parents can do to prepare for these meetings? Like, what do they need to go in armed with for these meetings?
Okay, so before you have your meeting, you should have your ILP or your IEP document. You should already have that at least. My rule of thumb is at least, I like my IEP 2 weeks ahead of time so I can take time to dive into it. Because my son document, the biggest document he ever had was like 30 pages or 40 pages. I like to have time to go over it. The next thing that I personally do, I come in with my IEP system. It has my son's name and the year of the IEP. And I have this right here, and I give this to everybody in the room. And it is my vision statement. And I'm going to read it. I know it by heart, most of it. But I saw every IEP meeting I have with my son. I really started this year being more intentional. I don't like starting off his IEP with delays. I like to start off with what I want. So I start off my son IEP with this quote that I created is with guidance, patience, and belief, I can rise to my fullest potential and achieve more than I ever imagined. Crystal Jordan. Let me break down that quote. With guidance, that means he needs the guidance from the teacher or his parent or his family, and patience. Yeah, I'm asking y'all to have patience with my son and belief. I need y'all to believe that he can rise to his fullest potential and achieve more than I ever can imagine. The reason I said I ever can imagine is because most people think because you're nonverbal that you're not smart. Just because somebody's nonverbal doesn't mean they're not smart. They just can't vocally communicate like you and I. And then I start off the IEP with this. After I say that, I read the room, I wait, and I get right into the vision statement. And I'm going to read some of it. It's long, so I'm not going to read all of it. But my vision statement for my son is as an advocate for my son. Remember I told y'all I'm his advocate. I didn't say as his mom.
Parent, yeah.
I said as an advocate for my son, Zachariah Hurd. I envision a future where he thrives in independence, equipped with essential life skills like toileting, writing his name, and confidently asking for help. I could see him being a lifelong learner, meaningful, educating with his peers, included in school activities that both challenge and support him. It's more detailed than that, and I stop right there for you. And then I talk about what works for him. I have a list of things that work for him. Token boards, schedule and routines, peer modeling. I break down each one. So I'm going to go to peer modeling. Peer modeling. Zachariah learns from watching and engaging with his peers, which helps him develop his social and practical skills. So I broke all of that down. Talk about his strengths. He's energetic, his shape matching, puzzles. He's tech savvy. He's compassionate and sensitive. And he listening and understanding. Because again, I don't want nobody to ever assume because he's not verbal, he doesn't
And he's not
understand.
listening.
So I put it in there. That was something I had to put in there. I put what I'm working on using the ASC device, sensory strategies, writing his name, reducing redirection, inappropriate hitting, and a list of other things. And I put what he loves, family, watching TV. I put all that in there, his favorite snack, and I'm going to show it. Let's see, y'all guys can see it. And then I have a whole book. Yeah. And then I have this part. What doesn't work for Zachariah? One thing I put in there is yelling. It's too much for him. Being rushed and assuming he doesn't understand. I literally, in one part, put he's listening to understand. Yeah. And then additional focuses that we're working on is emotional well-being, building resilience, and using interest for motivation. And then I go in with I can't talk too much because it's real IP, so hold on. I gotta find a blank page. So I write notes. I write a lot of notes, and then I can't show this page. It's his real IP notes. So hold on. And I write more notes right here in the back. In this system I created, honestly, when I printed it, somebody said, you're gonna start selling these. And I also put his schedule
a good
for his
full
services.
document there.
Yeah, I have a full document.
Yeah.
And I created this to assist me. The principal said to me, as I got done reading, I read everything point by point. It's detailed. It's something about Perry. 10, 15 minutes, read all that. That was like, this is the best IEP meeting I ever went to. The principal said that to me. And that was amazing. But that also showed me that parents don't know what they're walking into. Parents come into those meetings being so defensive, and they be so ready to fight. But you're ready to fight versus partner with your son's teacher or your daughter's teacher and really figure out how to help your kid. But that's my advice. Get the IEP at least 2 weeks before. Go over the IEP. Make sure the goals are SMART goals. Make sure if you don't like a goal, write your own goal and look at the data. Get the data as well, and y'all go back and forth at the meeting. My also personal strategy is before the IEP, I go and do observations. I go into my son's school, and of course with permission, and I watch him for 30 minutes to an hour, depending on your school. Mine is 30 minutes. So I watched him for 30 minutes, and that's how I knew how to run his IEP from there. I also talked to his teacher 3 weeks before the IEP, his speech teacher, his speech therapist 2 weeks before the IEP. I talked to the OT 3 weeks before the IEP, and I talked to the teacher over his teacher a month before the IEP. So before my son IEP, everybody who's on his IEP team I had already talked to. I told him the goals I wanted. We went over the goals. We went over what works for him in the school setting, what doesn't work for him in the school setting, and we went from there. So when we went to the IEP meeting, it was like smooth sailing because I already did all the hard work.
Okay, brilliant. Yep. Thank you for that. I think, like you said, that I certainly didn't anyway. I've not been to one of these meetings yet. Like I said, my first one I think is going to be in February once we've got the diagnosis. And yeah, there's a lot that I'm going to be doing now post this conversation to be able to go into that meeting with everything that I need, basically, to get the outcome that I want for Jacob. So shifting slightly then, just from the autism topic, going more into you as a mum, because I think we kind of get forgotten about sometimes. You obviously have, shifted your kind of life and your work around Zachariah. You're obviously, the children's writer now, and you've gone on to do these foundations and do the projects and become an advocate and all of that, which is amazing. How are you kind of doing all of that whilst bringing up Zachariah? How are you kind of like juggling both at the same time?
I want to be honest. My mom and my dad, that's my support system.
Yeah.
That's how I'm able to thrive is my parents. If I didn't have my parents, I don't think I would thrive as I'm thriving now. It's all about the village. And my parents take 100% my village. Because I am a single mom. I don't have the full support like some parents have their husbands. I don't have that. So my village consists really of 2 people, which is my mom and my dad. That's how I'm able to get so much done. That's how I'm able to balance so much. And then they're also supportive of what I do. They don't give me pushback. Sometimes they give me pushback because they say I'm doing too much. But that's how my brain operates. So, yeah. That's the answer. It's my village.
Yeah, it's
village
so
is very
important to have
important.
a
My
village.
village is my parents.
Yeah, I lost
That's
my
why I'm
mum,
intentional.
unfortunately. My mum passed away during COVID, so I haven't got I haven't got parent support. I've got my husband, but I am lucky I've got my husband. But it is just us two essentially. We haven't got any other sort of outside support. So I do fully appreciate that it is nice to have a village if you've got it, but there are kind of communities out there that people can get involved in, and if they haven't got a village of their own, they can go and kind of create a village if they want to, from groups and talking to other parents as well. And so yeah, it is important to have people around you. So you've got the magazine, you've got the non-profits, you've got a documentary as well coming up, I think, some projects coming up. Do you want to tell us a bit about some of those?
So April 2nd, 2025, I am launching an Autism Focus Magazine. It's going to be quarterly. The difference with this magazine is I'm focusing on featuring moms like myself, dads, doctors, lawyers, anybody who's can touch on autism. They're going to be featured. And the point of this magazine is to push my mission of acceptance and inclusion. Of course, it's going to be awareness as like a given, but the goal for this particular magazine is to be pushed into schools, doctor offices. The goal is bigger than me. God gave me a name. I'm trademarking it. I can't say the name. And then the nonprofit, everything I do, name is so similar to each other. So the nonprofit is for me to become a resource. I get asked that a lot. And people always try to make donations to me personally, but they can't write it off. So I'm like, you gotta wait until I'm a nonprofit and then you can donate to my cause that way. And I can further what I'm trying to do. And I help more parents. This nonprofit I'm still gonna start is for parents. It's not for me to help the kids so much. It's for me to help the parents. Because like I said, I'm a single mom. The documentary is coming out April 2nd. The documentary is focusing on 7 moms, including myself. So I'm number 7. And I picked 7 because God has 7 disciples. So it's going to focus on moms of different races, raising our autistic kids. And the reason why this documentary is going to be so powerful is because we're from all over the United States.
Amazing.
And I handpicked every single mom. I made sure I included other moms of other races because that was important to me to make sure that their voices are heard. And I did not try to separate them from the story as well because it's very important. Because, like I said, stuff is super important. Because when I get older, I need my son to be able to thrive in this world, even if he's still nonverbal. I still need him to be able to thrive and get everything he needs in life. So hopefully this documentary is an award-winning, Oscar-winning, Emmy-winning documentary that will shake the world. And then I'm
Hopefully,
also the
fingers
co-founder
crossed.
of the Coming Her magazine. So yeah.
Amazing. Well, I was looking earlier on your book on 'cause it came up on the Amazon Kindle store, and I was reading in the description, and I thought that's so clever. I don't know whether you've used that in the documentary or title of anything, but it says here you've created a brand centered around her son's awesomeness, but awesomeness is spelled like AU with rather than. So, like, you've got the autism, AUTISM, and then awesomeness is spelled AU. Yeah. I thought that's so clever.
Yep. That is me. I think my
Yeah.
son is awesome. Now my son drives me crazy. And I drive my mama
I think
crazy.
we're allowed to say that. I think, yeah.
He drives me crazy, but I know he advocates for him because when I come into the school, I just be watching him and he just be thriving. And I don't think he'll be thriving if I wasn't as educated in this topic.
Yeah.
And with me doing so much and creating this world of awesomeness, I pray he understands that his mom is a philanthropist who is really pushing this topic because I know one day I'm not going to be here and I need him to be able to thrive.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there was you saying that about you pushing for him and you're the one that's advocating for him and cheering him on. And it just reminded me of something. I think it was a TikTok or a Instagram reel or something. And I thought, yeah, that's the parent I want to be. That my kid knows that that's who I was. And it was just a quote, a small quote, and it said something like, "My mum cheered for me so loudly, I never noticed who wasn't cheering for me." And I thought, yeah, that'll do me. As long as my son knows that I'm the one that's there for him, that I'm the one that's supporting him, I'm the one that's advocating for him, I can die a happy person, you know.
I love that. See, I'm a crybaby.
Yeah.
That is, you know what's so crazy? I have to read this to you because since you just said that, it's something I have to read to you. Let me see where I put. It says, "Dear Zachariah, my dear son, Sunday, I hope you will be proud of me for creating this book for kids just like you. I look forward to educating and introducing autism spectrum disorder. And I'm no pun intended on the word disorder, you guys. To the Black community and the world, you have opened my eyes to see the word differently. I am very grateful for the patience you have taught me and the true meaning of unconditional love. You are my favorite person of all time, and no one on this planet can take your place in my heart. Mommy loves you and can't wait to share and raise awareness about autism and help the world embrace it. Love, Mom." And when you just said that, it made me think, I haven't read this since I published the book.
Yeah, it's lovely.
What I just read to you, I haven't read that in years. But I hope one day he can look back and be like, wow, my mom created a whole brand. Because in my will, all this is left to him anyway. because it's a legacy that I created for him. It's about him for him. I mean, like, what? So when I pass, this will be his. What he does with it, I have no idea. But all these books I'm writing will be left to him. And if he's not at the conscious level to understand that at that time, in my will, it goes to one of my siblings who are supposed to manage it for him.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I
Well,
thought of everything.
I don't blame you. I'm very similar to you. I'm a sort of an overthinker, and I tend to zoom off into, you know, I've already thought about, you know, college, funeral, you know, all of this sort of stuff. I have to, because
Exactly, my
you
funeral
know,
already planned.
yeah,
It's written down.
and I think
I
a
know
lot
you
of it
for it.
came, and a lot of it for me anyway came from, like I said, I lost my mum during COVID, and there was a lot of stuff that wasn't done for me that I wish had been done for me, that I don't want Jacob to have to go through when I go. So I want to make sure that all of those loose ends are tied when I go, so that he never has to worry about it. He can say goodbye to me and move on and get on with his life, and that's it. You know, and he doesn't have to worry about anything because everything has already been taken care of. That is what I'm hoping for.
And that's
Horrible to
why
think.
I'm
Horrible to think about,
positioning
but
so
you have
much.
to.
It's
Yeah,
a topic that we have to talk about. It's part of
I think
life. And
exactly.
people be so afraid to talk about it. And I'm like, why? It's going to
I'm not.
happen. It may happen. It may be unexpected. It may not be. But you need to have things in place for that to happen.
Yeah.
And I know people hate me talking about it. I talk about it so much. You'll be like, Chris, you want to die? No. I want to live to 100. I want to live to 150. If God let me live to 150, I'm excited. I'm
Yeah.
gonna be 150 still like, well, you know, I hope I do, but I'm still realistic. I live in the world of being realistic versus not being realistic. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I am perfectly confident that having you as a parent, with everything that you have done, Zachariah will be absolutely fine, and he will go on to do absolutely amazing things because he's seen his mum do amazing things. So I am 100% confident that he's got nothing to worry about on that front. And I
Thank
think
you.
to sort of end on it, do you want to just share where people can kind of come and find you and get all your books and your,
Of
you know,
course.
find all the information about your documentary and everything as well coming up?
So the documentary, you guys, I just got a exclusive sneak peek. I haven't really talked about it on any platform. So congratulations for hearing about it. So I don't have the website yet because I have to trademark the name and everything else. So I can't give you that. So what I'm going to say is how you can find me, guys, is super simple. On all platforms, it is I am Crystal Jordan. If you want to email me, it's crystalJordan.advocate@gmail.com. Also, if you want to buy my books and put them in your schools and buy book orders, you go to zachariah.com to buy my books. Or you can buy my books from Amazon, Walmart, BarnesandNoble.com. And so my books are available in over 1,000 different retailers online. So you can just Google just like you or I am awesome. I am awesome is spelled AUES. Yeah, I'm gonna show you. AUESMOME. So you take out the W and put the U. And you
So
can find
clever.
and it's a positive affirmation series. Thank you. And you guys can find me on all platforms. It's super easy. And then lastly, if you want information on the documentary or you want to support the documentary or anything else, you just email me at chrisjordanadvocate.com. If you want to be featured in the Autism Focus Magazine, just email me at chrisjordanadvocate@gmail.com. And I will forward you to the correct email because that email is a longer email. And versus me saying it, I just forward you to the correct email because I'm so organized. And once you get there, I got you. So, and if you also need an advocate to advocate, you just email me at the same email. And if you guys need a
Amazing.
custom IP system for your kid, email me and we'll go from there. You tell me what your needs. We'll schedule a call. This is not free. But I'm going to make it just like I made my son's. So I want you to go into this IP meeting strong.
Lovely. Thank you so
That's it.
much. It's been amazing talking to you, Crystal. Thank you. There's so many things that we could obviously go into. All of Crystal's links I will put in the show notes, and obviously we'll do some promo and stuff like that in the show notes and on social media as well for all of her things. Like I say, it is a subject that's close to my heart, so I'm sure this probably isn't going to be the last time I talk to you. So, but yeah, thank you so much for coming on the show, Crystal. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we will see you all for the next episode of Balancing Business and Babies. Thank you for coming on.
Bye, guys.